I grew up in the school of thought with hip hop where it was like you dug for samples, you found things that like were really obscure and you used them in interesting ways and you kind of manipulated it. And so for me, it's like rather than making my songs that I use samples in remixes of old songs and like reinterpretations of like 20 different, 30 different pieces of just different parts, and it kind of becomes this like amalgamation of just like of all these different moments in time, different recording techniques and stuff like that. And it's kind of like it's an art form that's kind of dying. Kids are like, oh cool, they use samples, so then they just get like massive bass and put that on top. And I mean, my whole principle is just the fact that like I know how to make dubstep, I know how to make, you know, like banging ass, like just lose your face music, but I don't want to do that. That's already represented, you know. I feel like what's not represented is music that like people can live by on a day-to-day basis and feel like they're connected to, which is why I got into music. It's just like I was, you know, before I ever went to a show, before I ever touched an instrument, before I ever knew what went into making music, I was moved by it. Before I ever knew what love was, I knew what a love song felt like, you know, and it made my heart like feel heavy, you know, and like I wanna perpetuate that rather than just like a momentary scene or like a snapshot in like a, you know, in a style of electronic music that everybody's into right now, you know. And I'm not talking shit about anybody because it's like because everyone else is doing things a certain different way. I feel like there's a facet or a niche in creativity in the music world that isn't filled by just making dubstep remixes, you know, and like by just putting like hip hop acapellas on top of trap songs, you know. I'm more concerned with like keeping up with myself and my life and like being able to like stand behind music I made from now, like 10 years from now, you know, and being like, you know, that's not just like a snapshot of the techniques that are being used right now, but it's like it's my own interpretation of what I want, and like and it's my own heart out there, and it's like if it fails, I can't be like, oh well, it failed because I was trying to do what everyone else is doing. It's like, no, if it fails because I failed and like my, you know, like my vision failed, and I can put it on myself and I take responsibility for that. But if it succeeds, it's also like I'm not just chasing a genre. I'm not just chasing like this like trend. Nowadays, it's just how dubstep was huge, you know. Now it's kind of like yesterday's news. Now everyone that was spinning dubstep is spinning trap, you know. And like for a while, they're spinning moonbaton, and it's just evolved so much. And I mean, I've been making music for 15 years, you know, and like touring and shit like that. So it's like with that in mind, it's like I've seen things come and go. There's plenty of nights, you know, where I'll go and have fun and just get loose at a show, but like very rarely are those artists that I go home and listen to, you know. Like I'll listen to old music or I'll listen to like down-tempo stuff or hip-hop beats that like just have like that feel, and like and also I think like a big part of what developed my style and like the sound for Pretty Lights and for the Pretty Lights music crew is just the fact that like, you know, we grew up with hip-hop and we were learning with that before YouTube and all that stuff. We were learning like, oh wait, people are taking like samples and reinterpreting them in their own world, and it like you could hear like a country sample flipped in with like a, you know, with a you know a 4/4 time signature beat with just like, you know, like, and all of a sudden hip hop was like this thing where it's like, holy shit, this is the future of music, because you could take samples and bits and pieces from different genres, from classical, from country, from you know other soul stuff, from like rare African music, from instruments from Asia that aren't even tuned, you know, and like. But like make it to a beat, and it doesn't have to be 4/4. It can be 3/4, whatever. But to me, it was just like, holy shit, this is the future, because it's like it's a genre, but it's not defined by a genre, because you can use any other genre and incorporate it, and all of a sudden you can like collage it. You know, I can take a big band record and get a horn section for like 2 seconds, and I can take like a funk song and get a stab, or like a little guitar rake, and I can take like the hi-hats from like a break beat from a rock band and all this stuff, and like take these moments that like would have never in history come together in that way, because to mic those things up that way and like make everything sound the way it was in the 1930s and the 40s and the 60s and 70s and different sessions, and like put it all together, like it's taking what's going on in the past and turning it into the future. We're borrowing from the past, but at the same time, it's like the stuff I try to borrow from aren't songs that people like. It's like, no, it's like the reason why like Pretty Lights, when we started doing that shit, like we gave away for free, is just because like, you know, we weren't trying to make money off this music. We were just trying to make music and get it out there, and like eventually, if we start touring and doing shows, the money came. But it's crazy when you see artists trying to like come after us for royalties and stuff. It's like, dude, we give our music away for free. Like, we're doing this because of the love of it. You know, like we're taking elements that are yours, and I'm not denying that those are yours, but like we're not trying to sell those to anybody. I'm making music for myself. You know, like, and it's like I would be making this if I didn't do shows. If there was nothing else in the world except for my records and my MPC, I would be still making beats. You know, and like. It has nothing to do with like trying to jack people or trying to like, oh, this is great, I'm gonna steal this person's idea. It's just more like you hear these potentials in like other songs, and you're like, man, this could be brought into these kids that have never heard of Minnie Riperton or you know, like or Barbara Mason or stuff like that, and it's and you bring these people that like I grew up like seeking their records because I was a hip hop head, you know? So for me, it's like being able to give these records a second chance and give like this music a second spin in your own life, and give these kids a chance to like have what I grew up with and what I like loved, hearing those soul samples and then finding them and be like, oh, this is where Jay Dilla got this from, or like, oh man, like this is what Pete Rock used for this break, you know? It's like being able to do that again and like recreate it and make it relevant now, but without losing the soul of it. Like that's my mission.